If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.
Hey guys, good morning, or good afternoon even. You can tell I know what time of day it is. It's been a very, very long journey. I hope you guys are all doing all right. Welcome along and welcome to the first panel of Play Expo Blackpool. It is lovely to see you guys. And I have with me a lovely variety of guests here who are all connected to a platform you may have heard of called Antstream, which is a retro gaming streaming service. So I have here Steve, who is the founder of Antstream. I have Oliver, I have Izzy, and I have Yellow Belly, who is a developer who has produced a game that has recently been released on Antstream. If I could get you guys to do a little bit of introduction about who you are and what you do to let the guys know, that would be awesome.
Sure. Hi everyone, great to be here. As Trista said, so I'm Steve, the founder and CEO of Antstream. Look, I set Antstream up because I'm a big retro gaming fan. About 10 years ago, I was starting to move all of my own kind of music and movies over to Spotify and Netflix. I realized that that was the way gaming was also going to go, and I set out and created Antstream to make it very, very easy for people to access and play these games, which otherwise can be quite difficult. So that's the mission. I'm sure I'll tell you more about it as we go through the talk.
Hi, I'm Oliver. I'm head of technology at Antstream. My journey to Antstream was interesting. I was actually a Kickstarter backer, so I knew about them. I was a fan before I joined. So I was at Creative Assembly, and then the opportunity came up, which is perfect for me because I'm a big retro fan, fan of technology. We're in a leading edge, cutting edge of technology here. So yeah, sort of a bit of old and a bit of new. It's very interesting.
Hi, I'm Isobel. Off to a good start. I'm head of marketing at Antstream, and I joined Antstream about 2 years ago. I've been gaming for my entire life, and I really like learning about the history of gaming as well. And I wanted to work in the gaming industry, and it's my first job in the industry, and I love it so far. I love being able to play retro games as part of my job, and yeah.
Greetings, I'm Yellow Belly. Some of you will know me. I'm one of you guys. I'm usually sat on that side. And I got into retro gaming way back in the 80s, obviously. And I am a proud member of the Bug Army. And yes, I developed my very first Amstrad CPC game. And then I was put in contact with Antstream, and I am proud to announce that it is the very first Amstrad CPC game on Antstream.
So Antstream is a platform which obviously lets you play retro games that you have perhaps played in your youth, ones that maybe you no longer have the cassettes for, can't find the cassettes for, they're in the loft somewhere, or maybe they've just dissolved by this point in time. And Antstream allows you to replay all of those, but also find a whole lot of new games that you may have never heard of. I obviously stream with Antstream quite regularly, and I found many games, some amazing, some terrifying, some both at the same time somehow. And being able to experience a lot of those games, especially the arcade games that I didn't get to play, perhaps because I couldn't afford to go to the arcades or because they just weren't released in this country, has been a really, really good exploratory journey. And now we have indie games and things being added on as well. It kind of means that there is a huge range of things to explore. So you spoke a little bit about why you wanted to set up this and why you wanted to make a streaming service for retro games. What were the ones and the reasons why you specifically felt that the future was retro and you wanted to focus primarily on that style of game rather than looking at streaming more modern titles?
Good question. Yeah, look, I mean, like everybody, as I've grown up with gaming, I've moved to different platforms. So, I'm more of an Xbox gamer than a PlayStation gamer. I'm a bit of a PC gamer, not so much. I do still tend to play retro most. For me, doesn't it? So there was a game called Manic Miner, which I'm sure most of you have come across at some point in your lives. And that was the first game I ever played. I was probably about 12, 13 years old when that game first came out. And that game just inspired me so much that I wanted to learn how to code off the back of it. So I spent most of my teenage years teaching myself how to code. Started off on it was actually an MSX I had. Unlike most people who had the ZX Spectrum, but it was still a Z80-based machine. Then I moved to Amiga and did 68,000, etc. And then released a game on the PC back in '94 called Nitro Races. So my heart's always been in that space. And then actually in the middle of my career moved into kind of the tech T world. And we were doing these big kind of data centers and moving Windows, bit boring, but moving Windows desktops into the cloud. And at that point I thought, well, hang on a minute. We can use this technology to stream and deliver gaming. It makes sense to do it with retro because certainly back then when I first came up with the idea of trying to stream AAA games was still quite a long way off. This was just before OnLive had started. And we all know the story that happened with OnLive and the problems they have. But I think the industry has now sorted that out. I think if you look at what's happening with xCloud, what Sony are doing, what Google Stadia are doing to a degree, and others, you can stream pretty much whatever you want. But we found our space in the retro space. And the other thing is people say, well, why are you streaming these tiny little games that I can download onto my phone and it's going to take up 48 kilobytes of space on my phone? And the answer is simple, is we are moving forward. So we started off with these smaller games. We're rolling forward. We're about to add DOS games into the platform. You'll start to see PlayStation games coming into the platform, and those games get bigger and bigger and bigger. So we wanted to have something that, whatever game you're playing, the experience is consistent. You didn't have to try and manage that content across all the different devices that you have.
Yeah, and the library grows pretty much every week. I can never keep track of what is actually on there, which is both a joy and sometimes means I play things like a delightful game called Toilet Trouble. And finding that one, it took 4 hours for me to get off the first screen. That game is brutal. It's about a snail who's very fast and lives in something they claim is a toilet. I don't know why. It doesn't look anything like that. It's the fastest snail alive. And I never would have discovered that and possibly not had nightmares without the delightful platform that is Antstream. So thank you for that. One of the other things that Antstream does is they have a lot of challenges and a community element with tournaments and things. And the challenges take sort of a modifier on a level and say, hey, can you do this level, but you can only go backwards, or you only got one life, or you can't shoot anything, or you're aiming to get shot as much as possible. That one I'm good at. And I wonder what the challenges are from a technology perspective to put together these challenges and make sort of these miniature sort of variants of the levels of games.
Yeah, I mean, the way we do it is we have a couple of experts in the team who understand the assembly level, the machine code, who worked in the industry sort of back in the day. So when we take these games, when we ingest them into the system, what they do is they reverse engineer. So they're looking at the memory of the game, looking where the score was written to, how many lives players have, and then we can go in and then we can modify. So once we know how to modify a game, we can extract scores and we can put them onto the leaderboards. If we know how to change lives, we can start to create these challenges. So we can sort of pick a level and say, right, on this level you've got one level, 1 life, 2 lives, change the times. So once we've got these levers to pull, it then opens up this world of what we call challenges. And then we have the creatives in the team, sort of marketing, to say, can we have a Play Expo challenge for Bubble where you have 1 life, and then we can go and create a challenge for that and create a tournament for that. And then I think that's what makes us unique versus pretty much everything, actually. This concept of challenges where we do go in, we don't just put the games on the system. We don't. I think it's very obvious sometimes you go and play these games, these old games. There's not a lot of longevity in them. You sort of nostalgia wears off very quickly. What we find is when we add these challenges, is that the playability then increases because you get competitive. You've got leaderboards, you've got these challenges. We've got tournaments, we've got lots of things in the pipeline to sort of flesh that out. So that engages you because you want to keep playing to get on the leaderboard. Whereas before, every time you die, it's back to square one. You get to level 3, it takes you an hour, you die, you're back to, because you had no save states back. And that's another thing we have, obviously save states. So yes, it's a bit of a challenge. We do need expertise to answer your question, of people who can dig in and reverse engineer these games and sort of figure out how they used to work, so that we can then sort of go and do them. And you know, that's pretty hardcore. You know, they're real sort of deep techie guys who can do it. I couldn't do it.
I like that very much, like hacking old games, and we used to use game genies and swap sprites to, you know, probably rude things, let's be honest. We only swapped sprites to silly things. We never did anything sensible with the game genie.
We have to swap a sprite recently, actually.
And apparently that's still going on. So the challenges, the community aspect of this is something that makes it stand out a lot. And originally, I didn't think I was going to play the challenges because I'm not very competitive. She lied. And I found quite quickly that there's nothing like sort of streaming and playing some games and seeing that horrible notification in the corner that just says, well, it says something different, but I always read it as, you're no longer winning this. We've done this on purpose while you're live, so you'll see it. And we can see that facial expression that says, right, now I've got to play Pac-Man for another 5 hours. And still not beat the score that they have replaced mine with. And it's been really fun because I honestly thought I would not use that function anywhere near as much as I have, and it's become a lot of what I do now is just losing to challenges that people send me. Saying to everyone, hey, my name's Trista Bytes, you can send me challenges, was the best and worst thing I've ever done, because now I have an inbox full of wonderful, wonderful people waiting to laugh at me very, very heartily. And it's been good fun. I wonder from sort of a marketing perspective and getting that message across, how have you felt people have responded to it, and have you had fun being able to sort of introduce everyone to this new community kind of way of playing retro games?
Yeah, so I think one of the best things about Antstream is how you can connect with your friends and connect with new people that you meet on either Twitch or Discord. And you can challenge them, and I find that I go into the Discord, I talk to people, or I'll go on Twitch and I watch people like Trista streaming Antstream, and then I'll log into Antstream myself and I'll see Trista on the leaderboard and think, oh, I need to play now so I can get my name above her, or, oh, I need to send her a challenge. I'm not very good at getting my name above anyone else because I'm not very good at the games myself. But just seeing people there and meeting new people, seeing your friends, being able to screenshot the leaderboard and say, oh, I'm above my friend here. One of the worst features, or best features, I guess, that we've introduced is I get these push notifications on my phone now saying your friend has surpassed your score on such and such a game. And I always get them at like midnight when I'm about to go to bed. And it's really, like, I love it because it makes me go back into Antstream and play it, but it's also really, really annoying. And it's just that constant, like, you're always competing against your friends, you're always seeing them on Antstream, and it really feels like a community, and I really, really like that.
Yeah, and they're quite fun tournaments as well. I like the fact that there are some people that are obviously like actual proper pro gamers. I've interviewed world record holders because of you guys, who are world record holders at various retro games, who are sometimes on those leaderboards, very near the top. I don't really need to go near those part of the leaderboard, so I see their names occasionally. And it's fun to see that everyone kind of gets involved, regardless of where their kind of play ability is. And the fun of it is just sort of being part of that, rather than necessarily that super esports competitive kind of environment. There's only so kind of like, my snail completed this level faster than yours, that you can really say with a straight face, it's not quite Call of Duty or something. And I like the fact that it is still very fun to be part of that. And sometimes I enjoy losing the challenges because some of them are quite devilishly difficult, and I don't always read the instructions, read the instructions, they're very useful. And that still is very, very fun to do. And I'm wondering, I mean, you have your first game is now up on Antstream. It's here on the stage. Look in. Still on cassettes, because we're retro. Cassettes are the future, you know. I'm getting a Betamax player soon. I'm interested to know, Are you going to have challenges added to your game in Antstream and tournaments?
Yes. There's already just high score challenges at the moment in process. Zypho, I don't think he's here. He's just checking in. But Zypho streams Amstrad games, and he's going to be doing the first stream of my game as a challenge, which I'm made up about.
Are there any particular challenges you would like to see added to your game?
I'd like to see maybe some one-life challenges to see how far people can actually get with just the one life. Because when I programmed it, I made it quite generous with the lives. And now that people are starting to get to grips with it, so, I mean, I was blown away earlier on when I come down to your booth, and there it was on this big screen, my game. It's like, oh my God. But yeah, I'd love to see things like a one-life challenge, or maybe, lose tapes, maybe, so a losing tapes, something silly like that, which would be awesome.
Yeah, we can do all of that kind of stuff.
So like a death speed run? Like,
Yeah,
I could do that.
Yeah,
That's right in my wheelhouse. That.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah.
But the bullet sponge challenges, I tend to do quite well at. I don't even know they're bullet sponge challenges at the time, but I do tend to do okay at those ones.
We do some weird things with. So the Pac-Man was a good fun one. So we did one where if you eat the power pills, it reverses the controls. Another one was we cleared out all the dots apart from 4. And if you eat a dot, then it's game over. So it's how long can you survive and dodge the ghost for. So we can do some really kind of fun stuff. And I think there'd be loads of things we could do in your game.
Oh, yeah. It'd be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So now you've started adding sort of awesome new indie games. You've got a couple on there. I would like to know about plans you have for the future for adding more retro-styled indie games, because we have incredible people coding things for original hardware out there. So what are your plans for expanding this further and perhaps bringing more indie game developers into the fold? Because we may even have some in the crowd who might want to hear.
I mean, look, the answer to that is everybody's welcome. I think, what we're looking for complete games that obviously work and are as bug-free as they can be. But yeah, the door is wide open. It's something we really want to do, support that indie community. We've got, I can't say who they are, but we've actually got some indie game. There's an indie game being built for SNK. What was that thing called? It was SNK, wasn't it? Yeah, Neo Geo. That was it. And what he's actually doing is he's using Antstream as a place to test his game before it gets released. So that way he hasn't got to give his ROM out to anybody who could hack it or release it. His audience can come in, they can play it, completely free and safe. And then when he's finished the game, it will go live on the platform and everybody else can enjoy it. So we're keen to kind of expand doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it would be awesome to see more of those, because I'm obviously a big fan of the indie games, as well as finding all of those kind of gems from the past that maybe I missed on the first time round. So at the moment, I've forgotten again how many games you have on the platform. Is it?
So we have, there's, I think it's over 1,200 live. We've actually licensed over 3,000. But as you can imagine, it takes time to get the games into the platform. And we're continually adding new games as well. So, the goal for our platform is, the ultimate vision was to have every game ever made. There's a lot of complexities with that, because trying to hunt down the rights to these games, as you can imagine, takes time. There's some games that took us 5 years to get onto the platform, hunting down the various rights. There's a few games we can't bring in because the person who owns the music rights doesn't want it to come in. So, but ultimately, this is a long-term vision, a long-term plan, and over time we will just continually adding new content and roll forward, as I said. So retro is it's a constantly moving target. What was retro 10 years ago? There's games now that weren't retro then, which would now be considered retro. So you'll see newer games kind of coming onto the platform. Our kind of broad goal is to kind of move forward 5 years every year. That's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I will continue to maintain the 90s was only 10 years ago and pretend you didn't say any of that, quite frankly, but I'm pleased to hear that world domination is the very, very small and achievable goal you have gone for with this. So I think that's a huge amount of games that are going to be added, and I know you can't tell us some of the secret upcoming things that are going to be added, but I've heard lots of new and exciting things. I would also like to know, out of curiosity, what each of your favorite games are on the platform and why, if it was one from your youth or if it's one you'd never heard of before you put it on your own platform.
I've already given this one away. It was Manic Miner. It was so, I probably wouldn't be sat here today if that game hadn't come out. It was so influential in what I was doing, or in shaping what I wanted to do with my life. I can't tell you how great it is actually to then be able to take that thing and put it on the platform. So yeah, it's got to be Manic Miner for me.
My favourite is a game called Saint Dragon. It's a horizontally scrolling shoot 'em up. And the reason for that is my favourite game is actually R-Type, which you don't have on the system. It's very similar. I do find, as you can imagine, in my role, we're always testing features and sort of developing on it. And I find that's always my go-to game, an excuse to have one more go. It's quite cool, really. I'm just testing something, but I'm also playing Saint Dragon. Honest, I'm working.
My favourite one is a game called Puzzle Upoko, if that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, anyone that's seen any streams will know that beautiful, cute, adorable, colour matching, cat drowning. Yes, you heard that bit right, game.
It's a bit morbid, really, because if you die, the cat dies, and it's not something you really expect from a cute puzzle game, but there's something oddly relaxing about the game, and I always have a thing for puzzle games, so it's definitely my favourite.
That's something oddly relaxing about a pixelated cat drowning horribly. The little bubbles escaping from its mouth. I'm not traumatised by this game at all.
Again, for me, obviously, it's platforming. I mean, my favourite game on there.
I like it, subtle.
I don't know what it is. No, obviously, funny you said Manic Miner, it is. It's that 80s, pixel perfect platforming. That's always been my thing, and I love it. And it's fantastic for it to come, hopefully, to new generations to appreciate it on Antstream.
Yeah, and I think mine changes on a weekly basis, but I've been playing a lot of Dangan Feverin recently, which is... Don't tell me that, I need to work today. So tell me there's a tournament on the game. No, it's a scrolling shooter, and everything, the sounds are amazing, and you kind of like pull off super dance moves effectively to destroy everything on the screen, and the music in that is ridiculously addictive. And if you never see me again, it's because I'm basically just sat in a room playing that game, possibly dancing along to all the tunes at the same time. So I'm curious to know what would be a dream feature or something that you could add, as opposed to just instantly adding every game that has ever been made on the planet. What would be a good dream feature that you would consider trying to add in the future?
Well, we have a massive list of dream features, which I can't tell you about, annoyingly. I'm going to leave this for Isobel to decide how much she wants to tell you. We have a new feature coming out in the next couple of months, actually possibly weeks, which is built around competitive play and allowing you to kind of create your own kind of tournament type things. Isobel, you can share a bit more than I have. You might start.
Okay, so it's if you like the challenges on Antstream, it's going to be one for you. It's called Giant Slayer, and you'll get to be the giant or the slayer. The giant will pick a challenge on Antstream, and they play it through, do the best that they can, and then everyone else on the platform will be the slayers, and they have to take down the giant by getting a better score than them. So we're just finalizing a few things in the feature, and then it will be rolled out into live. And we've been testing it a lot as a company, and it is really, really fun to play. We always test new features or games on a Friday, and it's now the highlight of my Friday afternoon, sitting down, and you get really, really into it because you can see when the giant's winning or the slayers are winning. And it just makes you want to, and you get all the challenges up on the home screen, so you can see all the Giant Slayer challenges going on, and it lets you discover all these new challenges that you haven't heard of or you haven't played before, and it's fantastic. I can't wait to release it. Really, I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Ooh, so is that the first anyone's heard of that? Did I manage to sneak an exclusive? Hey, there you go. I have now got all of our guests fired, people. Can you fire yourself? We'll find out.
They'll give me a hard enough time.
So there is obviously a lot more exciting things that are coming up in future for the platform. So obviously you have said you have always wanted to work in gaming. Did you ever expect that you would be able to make it into a field where you were sort of getting to play games on a Friday night and calling that work, and all the pizza you eat is a write-off for expense?
Yeah, this is kind of my second shot at it as well, because, as I mentioned earlier, but when I was learning to code as a teenager, it was a part of my life where I didn't really know how to get into the game industry. So I felt I had the skills. In fact, one of my claims to fame was there was a winner job at Bullfrog. I don't know if it was on Amiga Power magazine back in the day, and Demis Hazabis, I think, won that, who now heads up DeepMind. Did quite well, didn't he? And I was one of the runners-up in that competition, and I thought that might be my entry point into the industry, but I never quite made my way in. So I ended up, got a job in IT, plowed pretty much every penny I made into creating my own studio and building Nitro Races. So then I got in the industry, and that game was a PC game, but it was released by 3DO. So I got into the industry then, but then kind of got pulled back, probably for salary reasons, etc. Got dragged back into the corporate IT. But then, as I say, it was about 10 years ago I started thinking about Antstream, and it was a bit of a side hobby project. And then about 6 years ago, it became a business, and we started to build the team and go out and get investment and do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I now feel I'm finally at home and I'm staying here.
Yeah, it's similar. I started in the corporate world. Always wanted to work in gaming. Actually, before Amstream, I was working at Creative Assembly. You might know, did the Total War games. I was the worst person to work there because I had absolutely no interest in Total War or Warhammer whatsoever. People get excited and they ask me loads of questions about it. It's like, yeah, it was lost on me. But like I say, I was a Kickstarter backer for Antstream. It was too good an opportunity to pass up. As I was alluding to earlier, it's for someone like me who's into technology and a retro games fan. What else would you want? I'm playing the games that I loved from back in the day, but we're on the cutting edge of technology. So it's the best of both worlds. I am quite lucky.
Don't forget it.
How about you? Did you think you'd ever work in the games industry?
I kind of ended up in the games industry by chance. I left university with a degree in international relations, and I left very disillusioned with the world and everything that I wanted to do before going into university. I didn't want to do when I left university, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I ended up doing marketing in an industry that I didn't really like. And I thought, well, what do you enjoy? And I enjoy games. I've always enjoyed gaming. My dad used to work for a computer exchange, so I spent most of my childhood playing on lots of different consoles, well, what I would consider old, and playing old games with my dad. So I've always enjoyed games, and I thought, well, I'll just try and find a job in the gaming industry. And then I was temping in London and saw this job come up, and it was in retro games, and I thought, I like retro games, I can do marketing, why not? And I ended up here, and yeah, that's my story.
So this is your first game, did you think you would be making games and releasing them on a platform like this?
I'm still a deer in the headlights at the moment about it, to be honest. I started way back in the, you'll see how old I am now, with the Amstrad. Was my first home computer for programming, and I passed my O-level computer studies on it. So if you can imagine 15-year-old me on his rally grifter with his Amstrad in his back going to school. And it was always a dream. I passed the O-level in computer studies on that, and it was every boy's dream. It was every 80s lad's dream to work in the industry. And then, unfortunately, I discovered women, and that kind of went out the window. But obviously, to come back to it and then to actually have a game released and then being contacted with such a big company like Antstream saying, you know, yeah, we were interested in putting it on the system if you clean it up a bit. Yeah, it's just like, I'm still, like I said, in shock. I mean, that was closest is just seeing the game on your stand when I popped down. So no, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. These guys are really cool. They keep in contact with you on a dev perspective. They keep in contact with you. They let you know what's happening. They say, oh, like this needs changing, this needs changing. And yeah, it was an absolute easy thing, to be honest. You said some contracts I had to sign. I didn't read it, but he told me it was all right.
Yeah, they own your soul now. That's what the contract is. Yeah, there's some very fine print at the bottom.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you've got my soul now, yeah. Okay,
yeah, I think that's how that generally works.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what, on that point, joking aside, I think the one thing that's actually been really rewarding is to be able to create. People aren't buying Ferraris just yet out of having the games on Antstream, but as we grow and we get more users, the revenues you can make should go up, and that's quite rewarding. And it's been really interesting to me to meet some of the developers that have created some of these games, 30, 40 years ago, and actually they haven't been rewarded as well as they should have been. And we give our royalties to whoever owns the game. We can't control that. But in a lot of cases, there are independent developers that developed stuff back in the day, and they have maintained their rights, and we can help them. So yeah, it's quite a rewarding part of the business.
Yeah, and I think that being able to, because there's lots of ways you can play retro games and get hold of things even with original hardware, but even aside from all of the community challenges and the tournaments and things, being able to play them in a way which could be supporting those original developers, be they of the indie games or the retro games, is something that's quite important, and I find it something that adds to my enjoyment. I will always try and play a game in a way that will support the creator whenever humanly possible, and Antstream is one of the services that allows me to do that and know that those creators are being taken care of, which is something that I feel quite passionately about. So it combines two things which I feel quite strongly about, which is supporting those creators of indie games and retro games, and also game preservation, because a lot of the original copies of some of these games are going to suffer wear and tear. Cassettes only last so long, even though the 90s was only 10 years ago. And game preservation is something that I feel Antstream also does incredibly well, and means that we have these games preserved for everyone to play and new generations to play as well. I know a lot of people who've sort of got their kids into playing games through Antstream, playing their games over lockdown and things. Did you expect that this would be bringing in sort of a lot of very much younger people, as well as just catering to us vintage people, well fine wine aged vintage people like myself?
Very well put. Yeah, look, actually, it's really interesting. The preservation piece is a really important one, and just look out in the hall. The arcade cabinets, the consoles, the original bits of hardware. People creating things. It's so important, and that is a really, really important piece of the preservation that we want to support, however we can. But for me, preservation was actually about making these games persist and live for a long time. And to do that, we have to make these games appeal to new and younger audiences. And that's really what we're trying to do with the challenges and the tournaments. Because you can actually take, you said some of the games haven't aged so well, should we say. But you can actually take a little snippet of some of those games and drop them in on, let's say, level 5 at a particular point in the game and give them a little challenge. It might only be to play for a minute. It's really fun. And that's something that anybody can enjoy, whether they're 6, 60, or any age.
Yeah, you're never too young to rage quit at Manic Miner, I think is what we're learning there. I always manage to drop the rocks on my own head, which is not a winning strategy. If you make a challenge where it's drop as many rocks on your own head as possible, though, I'm there for that.
You only get one shot at it, don't you?
In infinite lives, and yeah, I may just be, yeah.
No, yes, you could. Good idea. You creative director.
I've just been employed, so this is official. It's recorded. I'm in front of witnesses. We will discuss my new imaginary salary later. That would be That would be delightful. We are happy to take some questions if people have questions from the audience. We don't have a roaming mic, so I can either run out to you or you guys can come up. It is up to you. Do we have anyone that would like to ask questions? If you raise your hands up. Yeah? Shall I run round? Shall I get my step count for the day? Would that be good? Elegantly, without falling off the stage. Excellent, excellent. Hello.
Yeah, I've got a question. When are we going to have a BMX Ninja? Is this the best game on there?
It got applause, so I mean, I think you have to now.
Yeah, I can set that up. I'll arrange it. Don't worry, it's coming.
I look forward to suffering on that tournament. Hey,
Hi. A question in regards to exclusives. I know that written a very good game there, but perhaps it's not exclusive to the platform. And I wondered whether there was any plans in the future to hire, I know you've worked with Jim Bagley in the past, to write games exclusively just for the platform. There's many people out there who do a really wonderful job, I believe, and whether there are any plans for that.
Yeah, and by exclusive, do you mean Antstream originals, that kind of thing? Yeah. My licensing director is going to be jumping for joy at the moment because it's something he's constantly telling me we need to be doing. Yeah, look, we will. We'll get to it. I mean, part of the trouble, there's so many things we want to do and it's prioritizing them. But yeah, actually, I watch this space. You'll see some Antstream originals. I can't say when, but yes, we've certainly discussed it.
very exciting. Oh, I look forward to also losing at the challenges for those. Hey.
Any Atari Jaguar games?
We probably, if we don't have them already, they're definitely close. We're actually on the Atari. Sorry, what was that? Is there? There you go. What was the question? We got any?
I think we've got Tempest on it. The Atari Jaguar.
What we've got, my answer was actually, we're on the Atari VCS system. Yeah, and there's definitely some, we've got some exclusive games on the VCS. I think some of those are Jaguar, definitely Tempest, and they are going to trickle into the main Antstream after a while. They're exclusive VCS.
Quite exciting ones to add as well, not just because I am a fan of the Jaguar, hence the slight heckling that came with that question, but also because the Jaguar is notoriously difficult to emulate and get games to work in other ways as well. So because of its very good hardware design that was not remotely difficult to code for. Do we have any other questions? One at the front.
Hello there, guys. Have you ever come across any game which you've failed to or struggled to adapt for the platform?
Yeah, they do come up occasionally. I can't think of a specific one. I don't know if you can think of one. Occasionally, one of the things that we do actually, which is quite a big piece of what we do, is converting the controls. And before anyone says it, I know you'll want controller remapping. It will come. I don't have a date on it, but it's something we're working on. Obviously, you get different games with varying degrees of control. Some games are left, right, up, down with a single button. Some have got 2 buttons. Some have got 8 or 9 buttons. And then the games that are the hardest is where they were originally on a keyboard only. So we have to pop up a virtual keyboard and stuff like that. So that typically is where those challenges are. If you've got controls or you've got controls that are particularly awkward or change midway through the game. So yeah, but I'd say 99.9% of games go on relatively easily.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Yes, right at the back. Oh, you're making me get my step count today. How are you?
Just wondering about international games. Do you have maybe Japanese, other languages? Is it just English?
We do. So actually the Dangan Fairveron, for example, the game that we're running a tournament on at the moment is a Japanese arcade shooter. I'm pretty sure that's in Japanese, isn't it, on the platform? Oh, no, it's a kind of mix with some Japanese language in there. We take the games in their original format. What we can't do is, or we don't have the resources to do, is kind of do the translation of the original games. But what we are doing, actually, we have Antstream in most countries around the world, and we do translate the interface. So There are people in Thailand and Singapore that will play it in their native languages. In the Antstream interface, once they get into the game, it's English or whatever the game originated in.
Yeah, I think quite a few of the arcade games I've been playing are in Japanese-only releases. I'm pretty sure Old Poker was never released here due to pixelated cat drowning, as mentioned. I didn't expect to say pixelated cat drowning as often as I have done in this panel. Do we have any other questions you guys would like to ask? Yes, sorry, I just squeezed through. I'm elegant like a gazelle, and I can say that because you can't see me on the camera. Hey.
Hi. There was mention of it taking up to 5 years for some of the licensing to get sorted out or for things to arrive on the platform. These content creators, original creators, have been watching emulators openly, just pass around rips of their content for decades. Are they not just sort of snapping your hand off?
That's a really, really good question. Generally, yeah. I mean, people are really excited to come onto the platform. Most of the challenges we had on the games that took many years to bring to the platform was that the owners didn't actually know they owned them. So we actually had to help them prove that they still had the rights in many cases. And that took a lot of time to kind of hunt down those rights. Occasionally you'll find someone where the rights are split, and again we have to kind of manage that process. Generally, most indie developers or single developers who own the content, it's a pretty straightforward process. But I think, as you said, to your point, that some of these games have been given away for free on ROM download sites for so many decades now that when we first came along, I think people were a bit concerned. Were we legitimate? Were we really there to help them? I think so. We're getting over that. We've gotten over that hurdle now, I would say, and people do trust us. They realise that we are legitimate. We look after their interests. So that 5-year window was more when we started. It doesn't take us that long anymore.
Okay. Do we have any other audience questions? Yes. Oh. Hello. You're slightly closer.
Yeah, I'm thinking about games on the Commodore 64, so like some of the more sophisticated games, like Winter Games, for example, that used to kind of load in sections, and you do an event and it loads some more. Is all of that kind of built into the platform, that type of thing?
Actually, this is a problem we did. Sorry, Oliver, I'm taking the... Do you know the answer to this one? Right. Okay, so yeah, we did run into this problem. Actually, with that particular game, or it might have been the Summer Games, the way we had to do it was break it up into 6 little mini games, because actually it wasn't that we couldn't handle it, we could, but the problem is, again, get back to the point of trying to make these games accessible for younger audiences. What they're not used to doing is playing level 1 and then sitting there and waiting for 10 minutes with wiggly lines on the screen while they wait for level 2 to load. So we had to kind of break them up so that they hit play and that they're playing it instantly.
Great.
Sure. Yeah. Not specifically. I mean, we'll create challenges, and it might be that we'll create a challenge or a tournament based on a later level. But what we do have is save states. So, and this is something I'll do if I'm honest, a little inside tip is I'll play a game, I'll save it before I know I'm about to die, and then I'll load it up over and over again to practice that piece so I can get better and better and better at the game.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot with accessibility, and people who also just would like to know what the end of a certain game looked like that won't cost them like all of their quarters or 20p's in the arcade to get to. Sorry, what was the next question? Hey.
I was wondering if you had an intention to make the games downloadable, so like a sandbox onto your phone, so you keep the challenges, but you've got the kind of native latency-free. And because the games are so small, they're less than a web page these days, so that would be quite enticing as well.
Yeah, sorry to take the mic from everyone else. I'll let these guys answer the next question. But no is the answer. I mean, it's something we get asked a lot. The problem with downloads is, well, firstly, you're back to that same problem the gentleman over here asked, where it makes it very easy then to copy the games. And we try to be an environment where people can't copy they can't copy the games because they're locked away in the cloud. And I think, again, newer audiences tend to play these games across multiple devices. I'll play on my phone, I'll play on my Xbox, I'll play on my PC, or multiple PCs I'll play on my smart TV and my NVIDIA Shield. I don't want to have to download on all of those different devices and manage it. And it's okay for those really smaller games, but actually as you get to the newer games that are bigger, that actually does start to eat into your storage space quite a lot. And if you look at I think, I saw a stat the other day that you can, not condoning this, but you can download pretty much every retro game ever made, and it's about 5 terabytes of data. And we're a platform where hopefully you can find as much content as you want. You can click it and you can play it instantly without having to worry about eating into your device storage.
Yeah, and I think as well, I've always liked the ability that I can just dip into a game, be mildly traumatized by it, and then say, right, I can never look at that again. Or I can equally find something that's a ridiculous gem, and then I can carry on playing it for hours and hours at a time. So I quite like the ability to do that. And if you start looking at the kind of download and keep models, you're sort of turning yourself slightly into Amazon Prime almost at that point, which comes with its own sort of licensing and other challenges and things. I think we are about at time now, so thank you so much for joining us today and asking all your wonderful questions. It's been lovely to see you. I would like a quick raise of hands of how many people are going to go and check out Antstream on their stand and play some of these challenges today. Oh, I like it, I like it. Yeah, you didn't put your hands up, join in. Hey. Thank you so much. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all your experiences and knowledge. And we'll see you guys over at the stand.